Guys, today we're finally completing the flagstone fire pit. We're going to add the capstones and mortar the joints, and at the end of the video I'm going to break down all the costs associated with this project. Enjoy the video. I'm trying to post videos once a week or once every 10 days. It's been a real challenge because I have a very demanding full-time job that has nothing to do with projects. I also got really sick after the holidays, and worst of all, my cat Jinx, my 14-year-old exotic short hair, he got really ill, and we thought we were going to lose him about a week ago. But thankfully, he has bounced back, and he is back to his own grumpy self. In fact, he's sitting in the window right now mocking me. So let's get this fire pit finished. Now, I will say that setting the capstones was a lot more challenging than the veneer stone. It was a thicker stone. I wanted it to be more substantial. I vacillated between flagstone and other types of capstone, but I finally settled with the flagstone. And cutting the thicker flagstones posed even a greater challenge. Now I've already cut the basic shape of the stone using my Ryobi cordless angle grinder. Now I'm using a 7-inch stone pitch and chisel to shape the edges. It just gives it a more natural look. You know, you don't want these hard cut edges. You want it to look like a rock. But if you're not careful, you'll find yourself breaking off part of the stone you didn't want to break off. That's a challenge I found trying to cut flagstone. It's made of multiple layers, and the layers can be unpredictable when you're using a stone pitch and chisel or even a stone mason chisel, at least in my inexperienced hands. But there's one thing that I have learned in my do-it-yourself misadventures, and that's it's important that when you make a mistake, you don't allow yourself to get too frustrated. Mistakes are going to happen, especially when you're taking on unfamiliar projects. Step away, come back with a fresh perspective. In other words, adapt and overcome. Oftentimes, the solution is better than the original plan. I also spent a lot of time selecting stones, and it was literally picking stones up, putting them on the fire pit, moving them around, putting them back down, replacing it with another stone. I set several stones permanently. I realized the remaining stones didn't fit into the vision I had for the cap. Thankfully, the stone yard allowed me to exchange those stones for stones that fit more into the vision I had for it. I also spent a heck of a lot of time walking around looking for my tools. Hey, but props on that camera awareness, I'm learning. So to cut the stone, I used a combination of my angle grinder to score it and the stone mason's chisel to actually break it. This allowed me not to rely on the pitch and chisel so much as it gave it a more natural look. To cut the stone, I used a combination of an ordinary claw hammer and a 3-pound sledgehammer. By propping up the stone, we increase the tensile stress on the bottom while using the hammer to increase the compressive stress on top. At least if my memory of fire science construction class serves me correctly. This allows me to fairly accurately predict where the stone will break. You can see the cracks actually starting to form, fairly close to the line that I intended it to break at. Almost perfect. Now things don't quite work out the way I expected. Now remember what I said before. Don't get too frustrated over this. It was a mistake. It didn't break where I wanted it, but I adapted and overcome, and I found a place for it to go. I think you can tell I'm pretty happy with this stone. I didn't have a lot to remove from the stones, just a small section. I could have used a claw hammer, but I was a little bit worried about the layers because typically I would undercut it a little bit and then kind of use the hammer to kind of bring it back around to the shape I want at the top. But I was worried about these layers blowing out. This seems to be working, but you'll see just a second I'll blow out a big chunk at the bottom. Right there. I used my 3-pound sledge to kind of round out some of the sharp edges. I would have liked to not blow the bottom of it out, but since it's going on a flat surface, there's no structural requirement for it. I could kind of use a mortar to prop that part of it up so it's not hollow underneath. And no matter what project you're working on, never be so busy that you can't take a moment to appreciate nature.
Warm enough for me to strip that off when I was. Oh look!
What? Oh.
It was under the cushion. That's a different color too. Oh,
Not on me. On the plant. There you go. Oh, close enough.
So now I've been working on this project for a while. My skills are getting a little bit better. I mean, I'm certainly not a professional by any means, but I'm getting a little bit more confidence. And you see here, I'm just kind of shaping up the stone to get it exactly the way I want it in the spot that it's going to go in.
I like it.
So now we're getting ready to set the stones in place permanently. I've mixed up my mortar. This is just regular mortar. I kind of wish I used fire clay for this. It may bite me in the butt later, but I didn't, so here we are. We'll just lay it out to smooth and level. And remember, when you have a blowout on the bottom of the stone or you have an uneven stone, you can kind of use the mortar to address that. So now I'm getting ready to border the joints. I'm using a grout bag to accomplish this. They say it's just like frosting a cake. Well, I've never frosted a cake either, so I don't really know what I'm doing. But I found it very helpful to make sure the mortar is good and wet, almost soupy. Otherwise, it tends to plug at the tip and makes it very difficult to push the mortar out. Now, what I tried to do here was really get the tip into the joint and really force the mortar into the cracks behind any areas of the stone where some of the original mortar came out. Just make sure all the hollow spaces were filled up. Well, so much for camera awareness. Well, that's pretty much it. I'm waiting for the capstones to dry here before I finish mortaring them in. But I decided to go ahead and just put a coat of fire clay around the outside of the fire bricks. They were so ugly when I got through with it. I was so sloppy at installing them. I just decided, hey, this won't hurt. It'd make it a little bit more uniform, and it did look good. I don't think it adds any value or any protection, but I like the way it looked. And that's it. 2 months of hard work. I hope you guys enjoyed the videos. I hope that you learned something, and I know that I learned a lot by going back and watching the videos. Able to point out some mistakes and maybe improvements I can make in the future if I do something similar to this. As promised, here's a breakdown of the cost of all the materials used to build the fire pit. The flagstone itself was $153, and that was after, I bought some, took it back, bought some more, returned some, and that's where we fell on, 153 bucks, which I thought was really reasonable. I bought 20 fire-rated cinder blocks from Lowe's. That was a total of $24. I bought 10 80-pound bags of Quikrete for $44. I don't remember the quantity of the reinforced steel I bought, but it was about 10 bucks. And what I did was I filled all the holes in the cinder blocks with reinforced steel, and then I filled those holes with concrete. I don't know if all that was needed, but I did it anyway. Bought two 25-pound bags of fire clay. That was $50. 44 fire bricks. That was $138. Those were kind of expensive. About 24 feet of 1/2 inch hot rolled steel stock to make the fire grate. That was about 13 bucks. Then I bought $10 worth of steel mesh from Lowe's to put under the fire grate. So my whole total for this whole project was $442, which I thought was pretty reasonable. Fire pit kit from Lowe's, the cheap ones are 200 bucks. So I like this. It looks a lot better. And I mentioned the grate. I got a video where I made the grate, and I had the most fun making that grate. I mean, I don't get to weld much. I don't know much about it, but God, it was so much fun. So I'm going to be showing that video soon. I highly recommend that you pick up the toothed stone mason's chisel. I have a really hard time saying that for some reason. Also the stone pitching chisel and a small sledgehammer. I've linked all those items in the description. I bought them all from Amazon for less than $56, I believe. So everything is linked there, and I'll link some of the other tools that I used. So if you're interested in trying this project on your own and you're looking for the tools that I use to make it easier, then they'll be there. Guys, that's it. I really appreciate you joining me for this project. I had a lot of fun building it and a lot of fun learning to YouTube these videos. I look forward to doing more. Thanks for watching.